All right, Rob, let's just say what everyone's already thinking. Are those We Buy Houses companies actually legit or are they pretty sketchy?
Ooh, I love this question. All right, the answer is both, right? Um, and if you don't know the difference, Buffy, it can cost you a lot of money.
All right, so I've gotten postcards in the mail, I've gotten texts, I've seen signs on the
Yep,
highway.
yep.
So which ones am I supposed to believe and which ones are like how do you know
Yeah.
which one you should go with?
Well, let's just own the fact that some of them are sketchy and some of them are not, right? Some of them are legitimate. And sometimes the legitimate ones, the more likelihood is that they're local. Those are people that live in our community that work with us every single day. But then some of them are sketchy. So what makes them sketchy, right? So look at it this way. There's three different types of buyers, what we call buyers, that are sending out the postcard, sending out the text, or you see billboards on the side of the highway, right? The first type of buyer is a wholesaler. What is a wholesaler? That is someone who they're going to assign the contracts. They're going to make you an offer to buy your house, but they want to assign that contract to an end-use buyer, right? Someone else who is going to actually end up purchasing that house, and they're going to be the middle person. Kind of like an agent, but they're not licensed typically, right? So they're just functioning to connect you with an actual buyer that they have on their list of buyers, most likely, right?
So when they say they're going to buy my house, they're basically finding me a buyer for my house?
Effectively, yeah. If they're making a deal and that contract says that this contract is assignable, their goal is, and usually it says in the language of the contract that they're going to assign it to somebody else, which means pass on the contract to somebody else to actually make the purchase to buy the property.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the next kind?
Well, and then you get investors who are looking for the lowest possible price to buy the house, right? They may want it as a rental, they may want it as a flip, but they are just at high volume making a whole bunch of offers on a lot of houses, hoping to get something significantly below market value, all right? Much less, they don't care about how much you're getting, they only care about does it work for them on a bottom line number, and they're just trying to see how cheaply they can get houses. And these are, in a lot of cases, they're legitimate investor buyers, but they've not been to the house, all right? They're not interested in coming to the house, but they're willing to make you an offer sight unseen for your house, but it's going to be significantly lower than what your home is probably really worth.
Okay. Then what's the
third one
Okay.
is actual buyers, right? People who are willing to come to the house, take a look at your property, and then assess that property based on what it's actually worth in today's market, based on its current condition and what it would take for that to get to a condition to where they could utilize it as an investment property, either to sell it again to somebody else like a flip house, or maybe somebody they just want to do just enough work to be able to put a tenant in there. Again, these are all legitimate buyers, but they have different purposes for buying the property.
So what one should I watch out for? Or which one is like how do I know if they're sketchy or not? What should I be
Good
looking
question.
for?
So know this about wholesalers, and there's, I'm not saying wholesaling is a legitimate business, right? But a lot of times there is an unknown. So the buyer that buys the house doesn't know what necessarily the wholesaler has promised you for your house, right? And so the wholesaler could be taking a small profit or a large profit out in the middle between the buyer and the seller, all right? So it just depends. I mean, there's legitimate people on all levels of this, all right? So it's really challenging to figure out who's legitimate and who's not if you're not experienced with this, right? I can tell, Buffy, you can tell because we deal with this every single day. But an average seller probably doesn't know how to tell the difference. And then some of it may just be the language in the contract. And then at the end of the day, do you get what you deserve for your property? And do you know what you deserve for the property? That's the key here, right? So the reality is, like in Summit Edge here, for example, with our company, we want to take the guessing out of price, right? So we want to actually come into your house and give you an honest assessment of what your home could sell for two ways, right? Number one, if you listed your property and you entertained buyers walking through your property and doing showings, what would that buyer, someone who's going to live in the property most likely, what would they pay for the house? Knowing that they're going to do all the work themselves, all right? If the home needs work. Sometimes the home doesn't need any work. It's just convenience for you that you don't have to put up with showings or having to move the pets around or different things. And maybe the cash buyer in that situation gives you more certainty, which is really what's more important to you, that you have a place to move to and you have a certain buyer at a certain time that gives you the structure and the deal that you want in order to sell your house. Now, so we'll give you that top end number, right?
Okay.
Maximum value in today's market, what's the home worth? And then the other thing that we do, because we do buy a lot of houses for cash. I mean, we try to buy at least 2 to 3 houses every single month in our local community. So, we're always buying, which means that I'm looking at what's the home worth if I'm going to flip the house, for example. What's the home worth? Maximum, what we call ARV, which stands for after repair value. All right. So after everything is done, what does it sell for in this market, right? And then what does it cost me to do that work? And what does it cost me to finance that if it were an offer that I was going to make on this? So if it was a cash offer, I still may be some costs associated with that between title fees and insurance, taxes, everything else. What does it cost? And then what is the reasonable amount of risk that we're willing to assume in this market to be able to sell that property to make some type of profit, right? And then that's the number that we would make as an offer. So instead of the lowest number that we can go, it's what's the highest number we can pay for someone's house.
So you're telling me if I am interested in selling my house, I could have someone from Summit Edge come to my house and they could give me 2 different prices of if I want to do showings and have, get the most money, or if you were to make me a cash offer, you could also give me that price and then I can choose between which of those 2 I would like.
Not only do we do that, we do it every single day.
Okay.
All right. We're looking at 10 to 15 to 20 houses a month with that same exact process. We help a lot of people. And here's the truth, right? Again, for most people, cash buyers are not the way to go. It's not going to make you the most amount of money, but money is not the most important thing for a lot of people. And so having both options is always a good thing.
Okay. Thanks for explaining that.
Yeah.